What if that amazing color you've always wanted in your videos was just one step away? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're a first-time viewer,
hello there.
Today, we'll be bridging the gap between the rich look of film and some cutting-edge technology of digital filmmaking. If you're looking for a last-minute gift idea for your filmmaking partner, or you're just wanting to make your own content stand out from the rest in 2025, then this is the only plugin you'll need. You may have noticed that recently, I've dropped a couple director's cut versions of older music videos that I've done on the channel. And that's because I wanted to revisit those visuals using Dehancer Pro. We'll explore its capabilities, evaluate its performance, and determine whether it lives up to the hype or not. This video isn't going to get into all of the specific nitty-gritty stuff, so don't stress, you won't get lost because this is a lazy man's review. But if this is like the 10th video you've watched about the Dehancer Pro plugin and you're just trying to make up your mind, then skip to this timestamp here for my final verdict. And if you find yourself watching this feeling all overwhelmed at all the options, drop a comment below and I'll be happy to answer all your questions. So let's get into a quick overview of the plugin. Dehancer is not just another film emulation tool, it's a comprehensive suite designed to mimic the optical characteristics of film. The plugin offers over 60 film profiles, which is way too many to rattle off the top of my head, but I'll have a list up here. But in a nutshell, it has all the iconic film stocks and even some beautiful lesser known gems. This comprehensive list provides a broad palette for creative expression. Beyond simple color grading, Dehancer also comes with some of the best and most customizable film grain, halation, and bloom I've ever seen. The whole approach you should be taking when using a plugin like Dehancer is to make your digital video feel like it was shot on film. So why I like this plugin in the first place is because it means I can delete the 10 other softwares and tools I was using beforehand to get these looks. Dehancer has taken all of the characteristics that people love about film and wrapped it up into one complete plugin package and offered just about an unlimited number of customization options. So if you want to essentially create your own custom film stock, you can. So if you're thinking about giving Dehancer a try, I've got some good news for you. You can use promo code ZacoBro at checkout to get a 10% discount. This is a great way to save some money while upgrading your filmmaking tools. With all that out of the way, let's open up Final Cut Pro and see what it's really capable of. In Final Cut Pro, I've preloaded some timelines from my two most recent music video projects, so we can kind of see exactly what Dehancer is doing to the footage. Before we get started, this little LUT layer, all it's doing is pushing a lot of green hue into the whole picture. So I'm just going to leave that enabled for the sake of this demonstration. All of my clips have been balanced as well beforehand because this is the final project timeline. So now this is all S-Log footage with a bit of a hue adjustment across everything. So now let's take a look with Dehancer enabled. Bang, that beautiful contrast. You gotta love it. Today we're gonna customize this to suit our creative vision meticulously. We can reset all of these parameters to either Rec 709, which is most cameras' default color profile, or if you know what camera you're shooting on and you're using a bit more of a professional color profile like RAW or log, you can choose those specific settings in the drop-down menus as well. Personally, I like to make my color adjustments with LUTs and color wheels since I paid hundreds for presets in my time. So I won't be going over some of the tools like Color Head, but they are still invaluable tools nonetheless. So opening up our inspector window, what have we got here? So we've got our custom camera, which for me on this video was a Sony a7S III shooting in S-Log 3 Gamut 3 Cine. For me, I wanted to go for a bit of a late 90s, early 2000s look for this music video, which is why we've kind of got that like 5:4 or 3:4 ratio in the first place. As you can see by this waveform, I am crushing my blacks a little bit, but they're still not hitting exactly zero, they're still a little raised. And with my highlights as well, they're peaking, but not at 100% because we want to kind of compress that a little bit. So in terms of film stock or film profile, what I used was Fuji Color C200. Again, this is that extensive list of available options that they have, and I just kind of left it at its default setting. All of the windows or different tabs that I have opened here are the actual settings that I used. So like I said, I'm not going into film development or color head or overscan or vignette, but those tools are still very much important. If we freeze frame on this beautiful shot of Tactics with his tight pink lips, you'll see that our film compression is actually bringing those highlights down so it doesn't feel so harsh, especially on the face and the hand. Those clouds, it all feels like a nice kind of soft exposure to everything. And that's what I love about this plugin. So in the expand section here, what I've actually done is I've just reduced the white point again, just so our highlights don't feel like they're smacking you in the face. And with our black point, our deepest of deepest shadows, I've lifted it up just a little bit, just so it doesn't feel so contrasty. And in terms of film grain, this is the customization that I was talking about. You could have gone for any of these different millimeter of films with different ISO ranges, the intensity of the grain, but I did a custom option. And you can kind of see I've set my grain size here to 4, the amount 15, the film resolution, and I've made a bunch of different changes to get the film look, the grain look that I wanted. Unlike many other plugins that just have an overlay that's a uniform grain pattern, Dehancer's grain adjusts dynamically across the image, enhancing the realism and the depth. Personally, I love that we can adjust the grain intensity across the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights, because it makes all of the difference. It's one of those customization options that seems so obvious, but I haven't seen it in any other tool until now. Same thing here with the Halation. You can go into custom and you can create your own look, or you can choose any of the presets. But I find that really getting hands-on and dirty with it allows you to actually get a better understanding of how each of these settings affects the final image. How I like to use Dehancer in my timeline is essentially by chucking it in an adjustment layer and dragging it across the whole timeline. And that way the whole project feels like it's got a consistent look and no shots are really sticking out like a sore thumb. Now also, if you like to shoot with Pro Mist filters, you can put those away because Dehancer's halation and bloom effects are particularly noteworthy. Halation mimics the red-orange kind of glow around the bright highlights, and it's a common artifact in film photography, adding warmth and a softness to the harsh digital footage. And the bloom effect, on the other hand, reproduces the light scatter seen on older lenses. These features, combined with tools like film breath and gate weave, introduce subtle yet organic motion to the footage, which underscores Dehancer's commitment to authenticity in film emulation. Why I prefer using these digital tools over practical filters in the first place is because I get to make the creative decisions in post. I'm not locked into any particular look or style. If any of you have tried to rotoscope and get clean results with a heavy Pro Mist filter on your lens, you know you're going to get messy results. So to talk about the user interface for a second, Dehancer's interface in Final Cut Pro is incredibly user-friendly. The plugin integrates seamlessly without sacrificing depth of control. Adjustments are straightforward. With sliders for each effect, it makes it easy to tweak settings to achieve the desired look. However, at times, the complexity of the plugin means there is a bit of a learning curve. With so many options to dial in, if you're new to color grading, you might get lost with how each layer affects the previous in the chain of effects. If you'd be interested in seeing a full color grading tutorial from me, let me know in the comments below. One additional feature that I'll highlight as well is the IRE monitor. It's fantastic. I don't know why mine seems to be upside down. I'm sure it's just a visual glitch, but overall, if you don't know what it does, it's a false color monitor. It shows you where your skin tones are sitting, if your shadows are too deep, or if your highlights are clipping. I use this every single time I'm balancing my project clip by clip because it helps me maintain consistency over every single scene, and the fact that Final Cut Pro doesn't seem to have one built in blows my mind. So it's definitely an underrated feature here. When we open up the Cahooks and Moses timeline, this is what we get. So again, A7S3, S-Log3 footage. And what I've done here again is I've just added some layers to add a little bit of color just before I convert everything to Rec 709. So when I enable this Dehancer layer, bang, we get all that nice contrast back. So similar to the Tactics music video, I wanted to kind of add my own sauce, my own recipe to the vintage film kind of look. To showcase that IRE monitor in action on this little clip here with one of our beautiful models blowing a kiss to Cahooks, if I enable and disable it, firstly you'll see that my monitor is flipped upside down or backwards. But secondly, you'll notice that this whole image has changed. So what does this mean? It's showing us where our deepest of colors, our shadows, are getting crushed, our highlights are peaking, and where our skin tones are sitting nice and perfect. So we got our highlights nice and up here, we got our shadows of the skin in here, and it slowly falls off into a deeper shadow. This helps maintain consistency across shots because we can see how her face looks from this shot to this shot. The highlights are still hitting at the same values in the same places, despite these being completely separate takes. If I had to give any feedback or desires, in terms of performance, Dehancer does tend to slow down things a bit, even when the footage is transcoded to proxy or ProRes options. In terms of playback, this is what our timeline looks like. As you can see, there are already a bunch of different transitions, effects, so when I go ahead and play with Dehancer enabled, this is real-time playback. Everything is already rendered. You can see there's no little dots anywhere. But the footage, nonetheless, is still probably playing back at 12 frames a second, maybe 15, when this is a 25 frames per second timeline. So it's not exactly ideal when you're trying to be particular, but you can always disable it and it starts to play back almost perfectly smooth. In my experience, it has doubled my render times, so I'd love to see if they could further optimize it, because I run a Mac Studio with a M1 Max chip, so not exactly entry-level specs of computing by any means, but I still find myself getting bogged down every now and again. So keep in mind, if you are using older operating systems or computers with struggling specs, this is definitely something to consider. Reliability-wise, Dehancer is stable. Despite its average performance speed at times, I've never had it crash while I've been using it. One thing I'd also love to see in a future update is the ability to enable and disable the effects without needing to open each drop-down menu, as it would save a couple extra seconds here and there. The disable all tools function is great, but just having that little feature on the side would be a welcome addition. In terms of its cost effectiveness and value, Dehancer isn't cheap, with a lifetime license costing about $700 Australian or $4.99 for my American viewers, but thankfully they do have 3, 6 and 12-month subscription plans. Or if you want to test it out before making the commitment to paying for anything, you can download the trial version for free. For professionals and studios that would regularly leverage its capabilities, this investment can be justified by the unique results and time saved achieving the authentic film look. However, for hobbyists or those who rarely venture into film emulation, the cost may be a bit prohibitive. It's important to consider the frequency and scope of use when evaluating the plugin's value for money. For me, I don't see myself not using it on every project now. For a plugin like this, it comes with so many unique tools that even if you only end up using a handful of its full capability, you're still getting a great deal. Before I give you my final verdict, if you're convinced to try Dehancer, don't forget to use the promo code ZacoBro to get a 10% off discount when you purchase. It's a little something from me to you to make your filmmaking journey that little bit more exciting and affordable. So to conclude, Dehancer is an impressive film emulation tool that stands out in a crowded market. It's a comprehensive approach to the entire film emulation process. So this tells me that the plugin is something that a lot of time and effort went into and will have years of ongoing support. The flexibility provided by this plugin allows filmmakers to express their artistic vision as intended. For those invested in producing high quality, distinctive content, Dehancer is undoubtedly worth considering. Its integration into Final Cut Pro is seamless, but it doesn't stop there. They also offer this for DaVinci and the Adobe Suite as well, and they've even got an app that you can download on your phone or iPad. So all of these advanced features can cater to a wide range of post-production needs. The value it adds in terms of aesthetic distinction can be significant, particularly in competitive creative industries. Ultimately, whether Dehancer is the right tool for you depends entirely on your specific needs, technical resources, and commitment to the film aesthetic in your digital content. So with all that, I just want to thank you for joining me in this deep dive into the Dehancer film emulation plugin tool for Final Cut Pro. That's a mouthful. I hope this tutorial has inspired you to experiment with film emulation and explore the creative possibilities it opens up. Have you tried Dehancer before, or do you use any other film emulation tools? I want to know your experiences or preferences in the comments down below. Maybe I'm missing something. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Hit the notification bell to be notified about all of our latest uploads, and until then, I'll catch you in the next one.